Imagine you're a Roman soldier. You've conquered kingdoms. You've marched across deserts. You've crushed rebellions. You've defeated some of the greatest armies on earth. Your empire stretches farther than anyone thought possible. You are part of Rome, the most powerful civilization in the world. And then you enter a forest. A dark forest. A silent forest. A forest where every tree seems to watch you. You hear something. A branch snaps. Then another. Then an arrow flies out of nowhere. A man beside you screams and collapses. Before you can react, more arrows rain from the shadows. You cannot see your enemy. You cannot form your battle lines. You cannot fight. And within a few days, 3 entire Roman legions vanish from history. Not defeated. Destroyed. So completely annihilated that Rome would never recover from the shock. For centuries afterward, Roman mothers frightened their children with stories about the warriors who did it. Even emperors trembled at the memory. This is the story of the tribe that Rome feared more than any other. The tribe that shattered the illusion of Roman invincibility. The tribe that changed European history forever. The Cherusci, and the nightmare of the Teutoburg Forest. At the beginning of the 1st century AD, Rome was at the peak of its power. Its armies had conquered most of the known world. The Mediterranean Sea had become what Romans proudly called Mare Nostrum, our sea. Everywhere Rome looked, victory followed. Spain, conquered. Gaul, conquered. Greece, conquered. Egypt, conquered. The Roman war machine seemed unstoppable. At the center of this mighty empire stood Emperor Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, the man who transformed a republic into an empire. And Augustus had another dream, a dream that seemed inevitable, conquering Germania, the vast lands east of the Rhine River, modern-day Germany. To Roman eyes, Germania looked primitive. The tribes lived in forests. Their villages were scattered. They had no giant cities, no marble temples, no sophisticated roads, no grand empire. The Romans viewed them as barbarians, savages, backward people waiting to be civilized. But Rome was about to make a deadly mistake. Because the Germans weren't weak, they were different. And sometimes different is far more dangerous. The Germanic tribes lived in a world unlike Rome. Their forests stretched endlessly, dense, dark, mysterious. To a Roman soldier accustomed to open battlefields, Germania felt alien. The tribes knew every river, every path, every hidden route. The forests were their home, and they moved through them like ghosts. Among these tribes was one called the Cherusci. At first glance, they didn't seem special. They weren't the largest tribe. They weren't the richest tribe. They weren't the most powerful tribe. Yet among them was a young man who would become Rome's greatest nightmare. His name was Arminius. Ironically, Rome helped create him. As a child, Arminius was taken to Rome. This was common. Rome often took the sons of tribal leaders. These children were educated in Roman culture. They learned Latin, Roman military tactics, Roman politics, Roman strategy. The idea was simple. One day they would return home loyal to Rome, useful allies, future leaders who would keep their tribes obedient. For years, it seemed to work. Arminius became a respected Roman officer. He even earned Roman citizenship. The empire trusted him. The generals trusted him. The soldiers trusted him. But beneath the surface, Arminius
never forgot who he really was. Few things are more dangerous than an enemy who knows everything about you. And Arminius knew everything. He knew Roman battle formations. He knew Roman strengths. He knew Roman weaknesses. Most importantly, he knew how Roman commanders thought. He understood their arrogance, their confidence, their belief that victory was inevitable. Arminius realized something. Rome could defeat the German tribes in open battle. But what if there was no battle? What if the Romans could be lured somewhere they couldn't use their strengths? What if Rome's discipline became a weakness? What if the forest itself became a weapon? So Arminius began a secret mission. One tribe at a time. One chief at a time. One alliance at a time. He united groups that had spent generations fighting each other. It wasn't easy. Many tribes hated one another. Some distrusted Arminius. Others feared Rome. But slowly, patiently, he convinced them. If they didn't act now, they would all become subjects of Rome. Eventually, the alliance was ready. The trap was set. All that remained was finding the perfect victim. And Rome provided one. His name was Varus.
Publius Quinctilius Varus was a Roman governor. He wasn't stupid, but he was dangerously overconfident. Varus believed Germania was already conquered. He believed resistance had ended. He believed Rome was in control. Those beliefs would cost thousands of lives. In the year 9 AD, Varus commanded 3 legions, nearly 20,000 men, professional soldiers, veterans, the finest army in the world. Then Arminius arrived with alarming news. A rebellion had supposedly broken out in a distant area. Immediate action was needed. Varus trusted him. Why wouldn't he? Arminius was Roman trained, a Roman citizen, a decorated officer, one of their own. So Varus ordered his massive force into unfamiliar territory, straight toward the Teutoburg Forest, exactly where Arminius wanted them.
The weather turned terrible. Cold rain fell endlessly. Mud swallowed boots. Supply wagons became trapped. The Roman column stretched for miles. Legions, civilians, animals, supplies. Everyone moving slowly through narrow forest paths. The deeper they marched, the worse conditions became. Then something strange happened. Arminius disappeared. He claimed he was gathering allies. Instead, he was joining the warriors waiting in the woods. Thousands of them, silent, watching, waiting. Then came the first attack. Arrows burst from the trees. Spears followed. War cries echoed through the forest. Romans scrambled into formation. But there was no room, no visibility, no battlefield. The enemy struck and vanished. Again, and again, and again. Every step forward became agony. Every tree concealed death.
Every shadow hid an attacker. The forest itself seemed alive, and it wanted them dead.
The attacks continued for 3 terrifying days. 3 days of rain. 3 days of fear. 3 days of relentless slaughter. Roman discipline began to collapse. Exhaustion spread. Panic spread. Hope disappeared. The Germans attacked from every direction. They knew the terrain perfectly. The Romans did not. Entire units vanished. Commanders died. Standards fell. Soldiers became separated. The mighty Roman war machine was being dismantled piece by piece. By the final day, survival seemed impossible. Varus understood the truth. The battle was lost. Rome had been outsmarted, outmaneuvered, outfought. Rather than be captured, Varus took his own life. Many officers followed his example. Others fought to the death. Few escaped. The rest disappeared into history. Nearly 20,000 Romans were dead. 3 entire legions erased. Legions 17, 18, 19. The disaster was so severe that Rome never used those legion numbers again. Ever. Imagine how shocking that must have been. The greatest military power on earth had just suffered one of the worst defeats in its history, at the hands of people they once called barbarians. News traveled slowly, but when it reached Rome, the city was stunned. People couldn't believe it. 3 legions? Destroyed? Impossible. Yet, it was true. According to ancient accounts, Emperor Augustus was devastated. For months he reportedly wandered his palace crying, "Varus, give me back my legions." Think about that. The ruler of the world's greatest empire, begging for an army that would never return. The psychological damage was enormous. Rome had lost battles before, but this felt different. This felt personal. This felt humiliating. This felt terrifying. Because suddenly, the empire realized something. It wasn't invincible. And the tribes beyond the Rhine weren't defeated. They were waiting, watching, ready. Rome wanted revenge. Years later, Roman armies returned to Germanicus, led by the famous general Germanicus. They burned villages, won battles, recovered some lost standards, and they searched for the battlefield. What they found horrified them. Bones. Thousands of bones, bleached white by years of exposure. Human remains scattered across the forest floor. Silent evidence of what had happened. The Romans buried their dead, then continued their campaign. Yet despite victories, something had changed. Rome no longer sought permanent conquest. The cost was too high. The risk was too great. Eventually, the Rhine became Rome's practical frontier, a line the empire would rarely cross. Arminius had achieved something extraordinary. He didn't destroy Rome, but he stopped its expansion, and in doing so, altered the future of Europe. History often remembers giant empires, great emperors, massive armies, monumental cities. But sometimes,
History changes because one man understands his enemy better than the enemy understands itself. Arminius was trained by Rome, trusted by Rome, rewarded by Rome. Then he used everything Rome taught him against them. The result was one of the most devastating military disasters ever suffered by the empire. More importantly, it shattered a myth. The myth that Rome could conquer anyone, anywhere, at any time. For the people living beyond the Rhine, the victory became legendary. For Rome, it became a warning. A reminder that arrogance can blind even the strongest power, and that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one standing right beside you, the one you trust.
The one you never suspect. The one waiting patiently for the perfect moment to strike. And deep within the dark forests of Germania, that moment arrived, changing history forever.
If you enjoyed this story and want more incredible forgotten history, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because history isn't just about what happened, it's about the moments that changed the world forever. And trust me, there are many more secrets waiting to be uncovered.